要流利的说中文，你需要学很多单词，但学习一些特定的单词可以让你说得更流利。Linking words, or conjunctions as they're known in the grammar world, are in this group. So words like even if, therefore, and then, otherwise in Chinese act as the glue that piece your thoughts together, and mastering them will massively improve your understanding and spoken fluency. And that's why we're going to cover all of the most common and useful linking words or conjunctions in today's video. By the way, I'm Neale. I lived in China for over a decade, speak Mandarin fluently, and created Mandarin Blueprint with my co-founder Phil Crimmins to fix the broken Mandarin education system once and for all. Our online courses are helping thousands of Mandarin learners reach advanced Chinese in a fraction of the time. Now, there are several categories of these linking words. There are a lot to get through, so let's jump into the first category. Now, the grammatical term for these are coordinating conjunctions, which is a very posh, complicated way of saying connecting words and phrases of equal importance. Basically, just using words like and, both, and also. So let's start with and, possibly one of the most common characters in the entire language. 和, this means and it's used in the way that you most commonly use the word and. This and this. So for example, 我和我的朋友一起去了公园. I went to the park with my friend. 她喜欢读书和听音乐. She likes reading and listening to music. Or 猫和狗是常见的宠物. Cats and dogs are common pets. Another super common conjunction in this category that you'll see all the time is also. And the best way of saying that in Chinese is 也. 我喜欢看电影. I like to watch movies. 她也喜欢. She also likes. She likes watching movies too. 我喜欢吃苹果. I like eating apples. 也喜欢吃香蕉. And also bananas. Another key linking word for linking your thoughts together in speech and making you more fluent is 而且, which is moreover, and most likely the most common way of saying moreover. There are a few different ways. 他很友好. He is very friendly. 而且, and also, or moreover, 很乐于助人, 很 happy to help people, or helpful. 她不仅漂亮, she is not only beautiful, 而且很聪明. That 不仅, not only, and 而且 are often used together. Not only this, 不仅 this, 而且 also this. Now, a very common structure that's a linking structure that you'll use all the time is the way of saying both this and this in Chinese, which is 又 something, 又 something else. So for example, 他又聪明, he is smart, 又勤奋, and hardworking. So you have to say 又 before both of them in Chinese. You don't just say he's smart, 他聪明, 又勤奋. You'd say 又聪明, 又勤奋. So those are the most common spoken linking words for coordinating conjunctions, for linking equal parts of the sentence together. Now, before we move on to the next category, there are other linking words or structures in this category. Things like 及, 又, or 并且. 并且 is another way of saying 而且, so another way of saying moreover. But I'm not going to include them in this video because they are not spoken. They are more formal. There's even another more formal one of saying moreover or and also, which is 再者, right? Which is only written. So I don't want to confuse you like I was confused when I was learning this language and teach you stuff that you're just not going to use. It's good to learn it. And that's why I'm going to include all that stuff in the materials which you can download in the description below. So along with this video, you can download the PDF and the male and female audio files for not only every example that I'm going to mention in today's video, but all of the formal and less common versions of these conjunctions, as well as 3 example sentences for each and every one. So it's like a whole lesson that you can review on the go. We've also included different types of audio files depending on how you like to study. So just click below to download that all for free and really acquire everything you're going to learn today, plus a ton of bonus phrases. Now, the next category of linking words are essentially all the ways of saying this thing or this thing. So that could be the word or, of course. It could be the word either, or it could be the word otherwise. So there's lots of different ways of saying this in Chinese. Here are by far the most common spoken ways of doing this. Or in Chinese, when you're saying a statement, so you can have this or this. That's 或者你可以坐公交车或者打车去. You can sit on the bus or take the bus, or 或者 you can 打车, which is take a taxi. 我们可以去看电影或者去吃饭. We could watch a movie or eat a meal. Now, Chinese is interesting because the word for or in Chinese for questions is different. So we don't say 或者 when we ask questions, we use the word 还是. So 你想喝茶, you want to drink tea, 还是咖啡 or coffee. 我们应该坐车还是走路? Should we take a car or should we walk? There's a few ways of saying otherwise in Chinese, and they're all super common, slightly different, but you'll get the subtle differences after seeing a few example sentences and reviewing them, and also seeing them in media a lot by immersing. But for now, let's just go through the most common ones. So, 要不, literally want not, is the word for otherwise in Chinese. That's probably one of the most common ways. 你要赶紧出发, you better hurry up and leave. 要不 otherwise 就迟到了, you'll be late. 你需要多穿点衣服. 你需要 you need 多穿点衣服, more wear clothes. You need to wear more clothes. 要不你会感冒, otherwise you'll catch a cold. 不然 is another way of saying otherwise. 不 is not, and 然 is a very interesting, very old character and word that means the way something is. So not this way. So for example, 我们最好 we best or we had better 早点出发 leave earlier or like quickly leave 要不然可能会错过火车 otherwise we might 错过 miss the 火车 the train. Now often we can say 要不然 and it's exactly the same. So 不然 or 要不然 and 要不 so these three things are sort of interchangeable. 你得每天练习 you have to every day study or practice every day. 不然 otherwise 你很难在比赛中获胜. 你很难 you'll find it difficult to 比赛中 in the competition 获胜 win. You'll find it difficult to win the competition. 我们要抓紧时间走路. We have to walk quickly. 抓紧 like literally grab tightly the time. 抓紧时间. 要不然 otherwise 就赶不上 like rush, not get on. 赶不上 means not make it to something. 电影开场了 电影开场 电影 is movie. 开场 is the opening or the beginning of something. So 电影开场. Now with 不然 you can also just say 不然呢 add that little n on the end, and it kind of adds a stop in the middle of the sentence. So you could say something like 你得努力学习 you have to study hard. 不然呢 otherwise kind of leaves like a nice stop in the middle of the sentence. 以后 afterwards 很难找到好工作 it's difficult to find good work. Now the final one in this category of distinctive conjunctions, that's the grammatical term for these things, is 要么 so this is either this or this. So you know like earlier what I said about 又 this and 又 this, you have to say the 又 twice. So 又聪明 he's smart, 又勤奋 and hardworking. Well, 要么 has to be said twice here when you're saying about, well, you do the same thing for either this or this. So you say 要么 this, 要么 this. So for example, 你要么今天完成 you either finish today, 要么明天继续 or continue tomorrow. Super common, super useful, you use it all the time. 你要么去图书馆学习，要么在家看书. You either go to the study at the library or read at home. This next group of linking words are also super, super common, and you'll be using them all the time. They're called Adversative Conjunctions, which is the very posh, intimidating, confusing grammatical way of saying the word but, really. So they're conjunctions that are used to contrast or show opposition to the previous part of the sentence. So there's a bunch of buts in Chinese, and they're all useful and subtly different, and we're going to go through the majority of them because they're all kind of spoken as well. So the first but is 但是 And this is just your standard everyday but. It's relatively strong contrast. So you're saying something, 但是, like you imagine someone holding up a finger and really making a contrasting point in the second half. 我想去旅行, I want to go and travel, 但是没有时间, but I have no time. 这个计划, this plan 看起来很完美, looks perfect, 但是 but 可能会遇到一些问题, maybe will involve some problems or come across some issues. Now, the next but 可是 is a bit softer. It's similar to 但是 and is used in a very similar way, but it's often considered slightly less formal and slightly less abrupt in its butness. So, for example, 我很累,可是还要工作. I'm tired, but I've still got to work. This next but is 不过, and it is used to introduce a mild contrast. So I'd say it's the most chilled but of all of the buts. And the unique thing about 不过 is not only that it's more chilled out, but it's also always negative. So for example, you could say, well, I've got no money, but at least I'm handsome, right? And that's like a good but. But the 不过 is always like a negative but. So for example, you'd say, 他很聪明, he's smart, 不过有点懒, he's a little lazy. And the final but I want to talk to you about is 而. Now, this is a formal but compared to the other three, but I still want to include it because it is used in speech, and it's not like something that would make you sound super weird or something if you did use it. So I wanted to include it in the video. It is slightly different too. So it's more of like a and yet in a lot of cases. So 她努力工作, she works hard, 而她却在玩游戏, but and yet she is playing video games. 这个方案看似简单. This plan seems simple. 而实际操作起来, 而 like but, although actually doing it in real life, 有点难度, is a little difficult. Now this next group of linking words are called causal and resultative conjunctions. I have to say that in a posh voice every time because it's always very fancy the way they say it in textbooks. But essentially what this is cause and result. All right, so the word because is a big one. So 因为 in Chinese is the word because, and here's an example of it being used. 我喜欢她, I like her, 因为 because 她很善良, she's very kind. 我喜欢这个城市, I like this city, 因为 because 这里的人, the people here 非常友好, are very friendly. Now, a super common linking word in this category is the word to express since, as in, since this has happened, we might as well do this, right? So the word for since in that context in Chinese is 既然. There's that 然 again, the way it is. So as it is this way, then let's just do this. 既然天气这么好, since the weather is this nice, 我们去野餐吧. Let's go have a picnic. Simple. Another key one to get from this category of linking words is 所以, which means so. So 天气预报, the weather report, 说 said, 今天会下雨, said this today it would rain. 所以我带了一把伞. Therefore, so I bought an umbrella. 他生病了, he got sick. 所以 so therefore 他不能来上班. He can't come to work. Good way to remember this is that 所以 so it kind of sounds like so, right? So that's an easy way to remember. And the final key linking word you've got to learn from this category is 然后, which means then. It's like a vital word, obviously, for piecing together any sort of general storytelling or things that happen in succession, right? So 我先做作业. I first, 先 is first, another really good thing used in conjunction with 然后. 我先做作业. I first finish my homework, 然后 and then 看电视. Then I'm going to watch TV. 她洗了脸, she washed her face, 然后开始化妆 and then started to put on her makeup. Onto the next group of linking words. These are called concessive conjunctions or 让步连词 or indicating a contrast with what is expected. So a good one for this is although this, but this. So 虽然 is although in Chinese and it's often followed by 但是 the but that we learned earlier. So the first part of the sentence always has a fact about something, and then after the 但是, after the but, is a contrasting fact to what you just said. So for example, 虽然她很忙, although she's busy, 但是她每天都去健身房. So even though she's busy, she goes to the gym every day. So 虽然 must go with 但是 in this context. 虽然他很年轻 although he's young, 但是他的经验很丰富. He has a lot of experience despite the fact that he's young. So in English, we don't have that but. We just say, although he's young, he has a lot of experience. We don't have to say, although he's young, but he has a lot of experience. But in Chinese, they do say the but there. Now, a very similar, although subtly different word to although is even though. So although is 虽然但是, but even though in Chinese is 尽管还是. Right? So 尽管 is even though, and it's often coupled with 还是, which means still. And you could also class this as slightly more formal, but it's still okay to use. So here's an example. 尽管天气很冷, even though the weather is very cold, 她还是出去了. She still went out, or he still went out. 尽管下雨了, even though it rained, 他们还是继续比赛. They still continued the competition or the match. So these examples will be completely fine interchanging with 虽然但是, but 尽管 it also adds a bit more emphasis on the contrast. Like even though this thing was happening, we still didn't do it. So it's just a bit more strong than the 虽然 and 但是. Oh, and 尽管 is also used in a different way of using encouragement or permission for someone to do something without hesitation or worry, right? So, for example, 有什么问题? If you have any questions, 尽管问我, ask me anytime. So, not really a conjunction, but just thought I'd mention it there. Another one that's key in this category is 哪怕, yeah. 哪怕 and yeah used together as a structure, and that denotes the meaning of even if, still. So it's very close. All these three things are very close to each other, but again, through immersion, through repetition, you will gradually understand the subtle differences and they will become second nature to you. So take a look at this example and see if you can guess the subtle difference between 哪怕 and the other two similar meanings that we've just covered. 哪怕只有一线希望, even if we only have a ray of hope or a single little bit of hope, 他们也要试一试. They still want to try. Or this one, 哪怕再累, 他也要完成这项任务. Even if he's very tired, or no matter how tired he is, he still has to complete this task. So it's a way of saying things in a more extreme way, that no matter what the first part of the sentence is about, I don't care if it's raining, I don't care if I'm tired, this second part of the sentence, the thing is gonna get done, all right? So it's a more strong way of saying it. This next category of linking words are called conditional conjunctions, or 条件连词, essentially if, right? On the condition that something happens, this will happen. So the most common one is the most common way of saying if in Chinese is 如果. 如果, 如 means as if, and 果 is like the fruit or result. So if this result, then this will happen. 如果 is both casual and spoken word. 如果明天不下雨, we're doing a lot of raining in these sentences, 我们就去野餐. So it's often used with 就 as well. 就 is like, then we will do this. If, 如果 this thing happens, 就 do this thing. It's also used without the 就 as well. It doesn't have to be there. So 如果你有时间, if you have time, 可以来我家坐坐. You can come to my house and have a seat, and sit down, visit me, have a chat, that kind of thing. Now, a more colloquial spoken way of saying 要是, again, 如果 is absolutely fine. But if you wanted to make it a bit more casual, you could say 要是. So literally want to be. 要是你今天没空, if you don't have any time today, 明天也可以. Tomorrow is also doable. Another one is 假如, which is less common, more formal, still absolutely fine to use in speech, but it's used in a situation of something that's less likely to happen. It's almost more of like, imagine if this was the case. So for example, 假如我有钱. And if you look at the characters in the word, you can see why it's kind of a more unrealistic if. 假 literally means fake or not real. And 如 is as if again, like 如果的如. So 假如 like fake as if. So it's like, imagine this for a second. 假如我有钱, if I had money, I was wealthy, 我会去旅行, I would go traveling. And here are a few more conditionals in Chinese that are quite useful. This next word, already a structure that I want to teach you that's in this category of conditionals, is 除非 and 否则, so they're used together. Now, this is a bit more formal, a bit less common, but you can still use it. All right, so 除非你道歉, unless you apologize, 道歉 is apologize, 否则 otherwise 我不会原谅你, I won't forgive you. 除非下雨 unless it rains, 下雨 is rain, 否则 otherwise 我们会按计划进行. Otherwise 否则 otherwise 我们会 we will 按计划进行. We will, according to the plan, progress. So we will proceed according to plan. Another conditional is 万一, which means in case. So for example, 带上雨伞, take an umbrella with you. 万一下雨了, in case it rains, 可以用. You can use it. So just in case of that 1 in 10,000 chance, let's take an umbrella. By the way, it doesn't actually have to be 1 in 10,000. It can just be like the general use of the word in case, exactly how you'd use it in English. Another super common linking word or structure in this category is 不管 都. So that's another structure here. So what we're going to do with this one is express the meaning of no matter this, still this. So for example, 不管发生什么, no matter what happens, 我都会支持你的. You need that 都. It's like the way, it's a uniquely Chinese thing. You use it in a lot of Chinese structures to express all of something. So in every situation, no matter what, I will support you. And there's a couple of other ones that are slightly less common. So 无论 is exactly the same as 不管. It's just a more formal way of saying it. And then there's 不论 as well. 不论 is a even less common, even more formal way of communicating pretty much the same thing. You'll find those in the PDF. Now, this next category of linking words, we're almost done, by the way, are comparative conjunctions. 比较连词. So this is ways of comparing two different things, either in similarities or differences. So a really common structure for this that you will use quite often is 不但 而且. So it's another structure of two different things working in tandem within a sentence. 不但 not only 而且 but also. So that's the 而且 that we learned earlier, meaning moreover or and also. 她不但会说英语. She not only can speak English, 而且会说法语. She can also speak French. 这道菜, this dish, 不但好看. 不但好看 means not only looks nice, 而且很好吃 is also delicious. 不但 is also used in another structure in a purely negative way. So the structure I'm talking about is 不但不反而 反而 means on the contrary, this is the case. So for example, 他不但不帮忙. So not only did he not help, 不帮忙, 反而添乱. On the contrary, he 添乱, literally add chaos. He made things worse. 他不但不生气, he not only was not angry, 反而他笑了. He actually laughed. And this next couple of words, I don't know, just make you sound really cool. I feel like it's a structure that isn't used so often, like the word and or with or therefore. So it's not as common as those, but when you need it and you can't say it, it's really frustrating. And on the other side of it, when you need it and you can say it easily and smoothly, it's just very satisfying. So 与其不如 is rather than X, it would be better to Y. 与其在家看电视 rather than staying at home watching TV, 不如 it's better to, or literally not as good as 出去运动 going out and exercising. 与其抱怨 rather than complaining, 不如行动起来 it's better to jump into action, take action. And this one I really like too. Again, when it's there for you, when you need it, when it's in your brain bank, your vocabulary, and you want to communicate this meaning, it's nice to have this. So the word or the phrase is 何况, which means much less. 这道题, this question, like an exam question or whatever, 连老师都不会。连 is like even 老师都不会。Teacher can't do it. Even the teacher can't do it. 何况我们呢? Much less us. Or let alone us, right? Let alone is probably the more common sort of spoken way we would say it in English, isn't it? 他自己都吃不饱. Even he can't fill his belly or have enough to eat. 何况, let alone, or much less, 还要养家糊口. Has to feed his family. 养家糊口 is like a phrase of supporting a family. So that 都 in this context, 他自己都吃不饱, it's just saying, it's accentuating that point that he can't even eat, like become full himself with the food that he has. Now, I just want to throw in some bonus linking words here, ones that don't really belong to any particular category, but they're all super common, and I just had to include them in this video so that this really truly is the ultimate guide to linking words or conjunctions. So the first one here is 一边 something, 一边 something. That's when you want to communicate you're doing two things at the same time. So again, we've got a lot of that repetition in Chinese, haven't we? 有 this, 有 that, or 要么 this, 要么 that. And we've got 一边 literally one side doing something and 一边 doing something else. So for example, 他一边听音乐，一边做作业. He listens to music while doing his homework. 他一边看电视，一边吃晚饭. She watches TV while having dinner. Another super common one you'll use all the time, especially when you're telling a story about what happened. And this word is 接着. So 接着 means then or next. 接 means to receive something or someone, to collect something. Like, so passing the baton in a relay race would be 接. Like you're passing something over. So for example, 他说完了, he finished talking, 接着, and then 我开始说. After he finished talking, I started to speak. 我们看完电影，接着去逛街. We watched a movie and then went shopping. Often it's used in the past tense, again, telling you about something that happened. So please use this when you are telling stories in Chinese. Another super common one, 除了. So except for. 除了苹果 except for apples, 我什么水果都喜欢. So except for apples, I like all other fruit. Or I like all fruit except apples. So in English, we say except for the second part, but in Chinese, it's flipped around. So you say the except part at the beginning. 除了英语, apart from English, 他还会说法语和西班牙语. He can also speak Spanish and French. Besides English, or except for English, he also speaks French and Spanish. 除了看书, aside from reading, or in addition to reading, 他也喜欢听音乐. She also likes listening to music. Final linking word that I want to teach you is a very informal spoken version of a formal word, 以便, like in order to. Now you'll see this one in the HSK as well as a bunch of other formal words that I did not include in this video. So 以便 is one that is in your PDF and it will come up, but you won't really use it often ever at all, really. Whereas this version of the formal version 以便 is super common and you will use it very often. It is 就可以. So do this so that I can, or in order to do that. So here's an example. 请提前通知我. Please let me know in advance. 我就可以做好准备. So I can prepare in advance. 他早起就可以. 他早起, he gets up early. 就可以, so that he can, or therefore, 有很多时间学习. So that he can have more time to study. 我们加班就可以按时完成任务. We 加班, like work overtime, 就可以, and therefore we can, so that we can, 按时完成任务, finish our mission or our work on time. All right, so that is the last linking word that I think you'll need to learn. And there are many others, but like I say, they're not used in common speech. You have everything you need with this relatively short list. So go ahead and review the PDF, the audio files, master them, and then go check out this video next, and I will see you there. Bye-bye.